So it wasn't that he didn't want to do personal appearances, it was just that he needed a break from working 7 days a week, which is a job in and of itself. But now I'm not working as hard, I only do 2 TV shows a year. In 1958, Perry Coe's song became the first gold record. But he hated every minute of it. The shocking truth is that he avoided recording sessions and secretly wanted a totally different career from "Here is the sad story of America's most reluctant superstar." Perry Como's story sounds almost too good to be true. He was born on May 1, 8192 in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, the 7th of 13 children in an Italian immigrant family. His parents spoke only Italian at home, so he didn't learn English until he started school. It's hard to believe now, considering how easily he would go on to sing to millions of people. America, music was always playing in the house, but there wasn't enough money for extras like singing lessons. His father, a mill worker, loved music and made sure all of his children learned to play an instrument, even though the family could barely afford food. He once bought a used organ for $3, which was a lot of money at the time. Perry, who wasn't even walking yet, would press the keys and pump the bellows while playing songs by ear. No one taught him, he just knew how. By the time he was 10, Ko was already working. He got a job at a local barbershop and worked after school for just 50 cents a week. He loved it and got good at it quickly, and by age 13 he had his own chair, even though he had to stand on a box to reach his customers. It was a hard life, but he never complained. Then, when he was 14, everything changed. His father got a serious heart condition and couldn't work anymore. The family needed money, and Ko had to step up. Most teenagers would have given up, but Ko handled it like a man twice his age. He opened his own barbershop when he was 14, which is almost unheard of. People quickly recognized him as one of the best barbers in the area, but it wasn't just the haircuts that kept them coming back. Ko liked to sing while he worked, and his customers loved it. Soon he was known as the wedding barber among Greek families in the area, because he didn't just groom the grooms, he sang for them too. Business was so good that he was making $125 a week, which was a lot of money in the late 1000s, 920s. He could have spent the rest of his life as a successful barber, but fate had other plans. In 1933, a local band leader named Freddie Carone asked him to audition. Ko had never thought about singing professionally, but he thought it was worth a shot. He got the job, and at age 21 he did something that shocked everyone. He quit his barbershop and steady income to pursue a career in music. It wasn't easy. For 5 years he traveled with the band, making only $28 a week, much less than what he made as a barber. But he never regretted it. In 1936, Perry Como took a big step in his career when he joined the Ted at None. It was a huge chance to work with the Weems Orchestra and make $50 a week, which is about $11,000 today. But there was a problem. Critics said he sounded too much like Bing Crosby, who was already a huge star. So instead of praising his talent, they called him a fake. Things got worse in 1937, when the band was recording with Decca Records, and an angry executive told Weems to get rid of the kid because he sounded too much like Crosby. If the executive had listened, that could have been the end of Coe's career right there. But Weems refused. He told the executive that if Ko wasn't on the recording, there would be no recording at all. Ko stayed, but the message was clear. He had to find his own voice if he wanted a future in music. The criticism didn't stop WGN Radio in Chicago from airing the Weems Orchestra's performances. They threatened to cancel the show if Ko didn't get better, so Weems sat him down and played recordings of their past broadcasts. Ko was shocked to hear that he was having trouble understanding what he was saying, and he wasn't connecting with the audience the way he thought he was. That's when Weems told him something that would stay with him forever. Stop trying so hard, stop using vocal tricks, and just sing from the heart. Ko took Weems's advice to heart, and over time, he developed the smooth, natural style that would make him famous. But success didn't happen overnight. In 1942, World War II broke out, and the Ted Weems Orchestra broke up. Ko was suddenly out of work. He was 30 years old, married, and had a young son to support. He didn't see a clear future in music, so he seriously thought about quitting. Before he became a singer, Ko had been a barber, and now he was thinking about going back to that job. He even called his old barber shop in Canonsburg, Pennsylvania, to see if they would take him back, and they were happy to. For weeks, Ko was torn. Music had brought him some success, but barbering was stable and reliable. He even practiced his skills on a cigar. He was getting ready to leave the microphone for good when he got a call from RCA Victor. they wanted to sign him. The deal included a steady paycheck and radio appearances, which meant real exposure. After talking it over with his wife, K.O. took the deal. He decided to give music one last chance, and that choice changed everything. 2 years later, in 1945, he recorded Till the End of Time, a song based on a Chopin melody. As soon as he was done recording, everyone in studios knew it was a special song, because it came out at the perfect time, as World War II ended and people were looking for hope. The song went straight to #1 on the charts and stayed there for 10 weeks, selling over 1 million copies and becoming Combs' first gold record. In later years, he would joke that his fans should thank RCA Victor for keeping them from getting haircuts instead of hit songs. In 1957, Como released Catch a Falling Star, a song that seemed simple but became a huge hit in less than a month. It sold over 1.4 million copies were sold, which is a lot for any artist, but Ko, who was 46 at the time, made it look easy. In 1958, the song became the first ever to receive a gold record certification from the RIAA. The next year, it won the first Grammy for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance. At a time when rock and roll was taking over, Como's traditional style still had the power to capture millions of people. In the US, Catch a Falling Star was the biggest hit, but another song on the same record, Magic Moments, became a hit. K.O. was one of the few artists to have hits on both sides of the Atlantic at the same time, and he did it without flash or any other tricks. In the 1950s and early 1960s, K.O. had a string of novelty hits that ruled the charts. Songs like Papa Loves Mambo, Hot Diggity Dog, Ziggity Boom, and Hoop Doo were everywhere. Hot Diggity stayed on the Billboard charts for 21 weeks and hit #1 twice, selling over 1 million copies and earning K.O. a #1 spot. Following closely behind was the #4 gold record, Papa Loves Mambo, which sold over 500,000 copies. These songs were perfect for the post-war era, when people wanted fun, silly entertainment. But K.O. wasn't satisfied. He had a smooth baritone voice that was perfect for ballads and sophisticated pop. He wanted to be known for those songs, not for singing about mambo and hot diggity dogs. The public, on the other hand, wanted more of the silly songs, no matter how many serious songs he recorded. To singers like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby, he had a hard time being taken seriously. In 1958, this gap became clear when K.O. released 2 major singles, Catch a Falling Star and Magic Moments. Catch a Falling Star was a light and fun song that became his 14th and final #1 hit. It won him the first ever Grammy for Best Male Vocal Performance, and was the first single to be certified gold by the RA. Magic Moments, which was written by Bert Barack, had a more serious sound and only reached #4, even though many people really liked it. In 1956, Hot Diggity was one of his biggest hits and stayed at #1 for 2 weeks, but his more serious recordings were ignored. The problem wasn't just what people liked, it was what his record label wanted. K.O. later admitted that he had no choice but to record these songs. He called many of them crap, and said he only sang them because RCA insisted they would sell. During recording sessions, musicians who worked with him said he was very angry. He knew the songs would be hits, but he didn't like singing them anymore. He would walk into the studio, do 1 or 2 takes and then leave as quickly as possible. One session player said he looked like he had just eaten a lemon. In 1961, he tried to change things by releasing an album of Broadway standards that he thought were some of his best work. It didn't sell nearly as well as his novelty singles though, because people already thought Perry Como was the fun, laid-back singer. In a 1998 interview, he talked about his career. Those songs paid for my house and put my kids through college, so I can't complain too much. But if I had my way, I'd have spent my whole career singing the Great American Songbook, instead of pruning about hot diggity dogs and sigh dolls. His career was a strange contradiction. He was loved by millions of people, but he felt trapped by his own success. The songs that made him famous were also the ones that kept him from being fully himself. Even now, when people think of Perry Como, they first think of his fun, light-hearted songs. But underneath it all was an artist who wanted to be known for more. His TV career was just as impressive. The Perry Como Show ran from 1948 to 1963 and became one of the most popular variety shows of its time. By the 1956-57 season, it was the only NBC show to reach the top 10 in the Nielsen ratings. Fans loved his calm and friendly style and felt like he was singing just for them. In one of the show's most popular segments, Sing to Me, Mr. C, K.O. sat on a stool and sang requests from viewers. It was simple, but it was personal, and that made all the difference. KO also changed television history when, in September 1956, his show became one of the first weekly shows to be shown in color. Networks didn't take those kinds of risks unless they trusted a star's ability to draw viewers, and KO had earned that trust. His show also had a fun side, and one of the most talked about moments happened on air. Kirk Douglas had grown a beard for his role as Vincent van Gogh in Lust for Life, and instead of shaving it off in private, he let KO do it live on air. It was an unplanned, funny moment that kept people talking for weeks, even though Douglas was a big star. Coe's style became controversial. Some people liked his calm, easygoing charm, while others thought he was too slow and laid back. Comedian Jerry Lewis joked that Coe's theme song should be, "I'm walking in my sleep," but if people thought he was lazy because of how relaxed he was, but it wasn't an act, it was just who he was. In 1956, Life magazine asked young women who they thought would make the best husband. The winner wasn't a politician or a movie star, it was Perry Ko. His warmth and steady presence made him stand out in an era of fast-talking, high-energy celebrities. That same laid-back personality carried over behind the scenes, where he created a fun, relaxed atmosphere on his show, which led to some unforgettable moments. Moments happened in 1957, when Olympic swimmer and actress Esther Williams appeared on the show. A wardrobe malfunction almost turned into a major TV scandal, but Ko didn't freak out. Instead, he just smiled, said, "Good night," and jumped fully clothed into the swimming pool that was built for Williams' performance. It was the perfect way to end the night. In 1959, Perry Como signed a record-breaking $25 million deal with Kraft Foods, making it the biggest deal ever for a TV performer. He started hosting Perry Co's Kraft Music Hall every Wednesday night for the next 4 years. After that, the show changed to a monthly special that alternated with shows like Kraft Suspense Theater and The Andy Williams Show. Ko didn't deal with business matters himself. His production company Ramon took care of everything, including picking what shows aired during his summer breaks. While he was away, people could still watch him in Perry Presents, a special series that started in 1959. In late 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis had just happened. Parents of U.S. servicemen were finally allowed to bring their children back to Guantanamo Bay. Secretary of Defense Robert M. Camera wanted to boost morale on the base, so he asked Ko to bring his show there. Ko agreed and became the first entertainer to visit since the crisis. He and his crew spent 8 days filming the excited families as they came back. The episode aired on December 12, 1962, and had many memorable moments. Meanwhile, Perry Como had the good looks that got him a 7-year contract with 20th Century Fox in 1943, but good looks weren't enough to make him a movie star. He was in 4 studio movies, including Something for the Boys, March of Time, Dollface, and, if I'm lucky, Words and Music for MGM. Despite the roles, he never felt comfortable in front of the camera, and he knew it. Hollywood being Hollywood, someone tried to change his life story. A publicist thought coal miner sounded more dramatic than barber, and they tried to get people to believe it. Ko wasn't having it though, and he was skeptical. The barber affair was called a publicity stunt by columnists, so Ko took him to the Fox Studios barbershop and gave him a real shave and haircut. That settled that. His first experience on a movie set made him doubt the business even more. He showed up to work on Something for the Boys and sat in his dressing room for 2 weeks without being called. For those 2 weeks, he played golf while still waiting. It took 5 weeks before the studio actually needed him. When he finally walked onto the set, the director greeted him, had no idea who he was. That was Hollywood. By the time Combs signed on, musical movies were already losing their appeal. He was just another contract player who filled in when needed. Even when he got a part in Words and Music, one of MGM's big productions, things didn't get any better. The script was so careless that his character's name was changed from Eddie Anders to Perry Como before the movie was over and less than 2 weeks before it came out. Walter Winchell, a newspaper columnist, called it out, saying that someone at MGM must have Ko didn't need any more proof. He just asked to be released from his contract, and MGM agreed. In his own words, "I was wasting their time and they were wasting mine." Ko said this on the Chesterfield Supper Club radio and TV show in 1949. He also said that he'd never need Hollywood again, because television is going to do me a lot more personal good than the movies ever have. The reason should be clear. On television, I'm allowed to be myself. In pictures I was always some other guy. I come over like just another guy. Later he got offers for movie roles, but he was too busy with TV to care. Perry Como met Roselle Bellini at a picnic in Chartiers Creek, Pennsylvania. He was 21 years old and working as a barber, and she was 19. She had no idea that she was about to meet the love of her life. Ko was instantly drawn to her, so he did what he did best: he sang More Than You Know. It worked, and they were instantly in love. They got married on July 31, 1933, in Mayville, Pennsylvania. The early years were not easy. Money was always tight, because Ko traveled a lot with his band. They lived in small apartments and saved every penny they could. Roselle later said, "We had some tough times, money was tight, but we were frugal, and we lived on what he made." Despite the problems, they stayed together. Fame would come later, but their love was strong before that. As Ko's career took off, Roselle stayed out of the spotlight to protect their family from the pressures of fame. He became a national icon, but at home he was just Perry. Their marriage lasted in 1998, just days before their anniversary. Roselle talked about her husband with the same love she had from the beginning. "He was and still is the most gentle and humble man I ever met." They shared more than just love. They both came from immigrant families and had a strong Catholic faith. Their values kept them grounded. Faith was a constant in Ko's life. He was raised in a strict Catholic home and carried those beliefs into his career. But unlike many people in Hollywood, he never lost sight of in the 1940s and 1950s. He avoided scandals and lived a quiet life outside of work. Despite becoming one of America's biggest stars, he stayed true to himself. In 1958, Ko and Roselle celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary by traveling to Italy for a private meeting with Pope Paul I. Ko thought the meeting would be private, but the Vatican press office released photos of it, which made him angry. He wasn't upset because he wanted to hide his faith, but because he never wanted to use it for evil. People paid attention to him, but he never felt the need to say that his faith guided his decision. He was quiet, which set him apart from most celebrities. He turned down opportunities that didn't fit his values and chose privacy over fame. When he retired in Florida, he made sure that he would be buried in a Catholic church. Even in death, he stayed true to what mattered most. Everything changed in 1998, when Roselle died, just days after their anniversary. Ko was heartbroken. She had been by his side for at least 65 years without her. He lost his bearings, pulled away from public life, and rarely left his home in Jupiter, Florida. His Christmas specials, which used to happen every year, stopped in 1994, and he turned down every invitation to return to the spotlight. It didn't matter to him anymore. His health started to get worse, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. His family kept it a secret because he had always been a private person and they respected that. He died in his sleep on May 12, 2001, just shy of his 89th birthday. People who knew him well thought he never really got over losing Roselle Perry-Combs. He wasn't just a singer, he was a presence, a calm and steady figure in entertainment. People watched him not only because he sang beautifully, but also because he made them feel good. That kind of connection is rare, which is why his career lasted for decades, and why he won some of the biggest awards in TV history in the late 1950s. Ko dominated the Emmy Awards like no one else. Besides that, he won his first award for Best Male Singer in 1955, beating out Frank Sinatra and Eddie Fisher. The next year, he did something even more impressive. He won 2 awards in one night. One for Best Male Personality, and the other for Best Variety Series. That kind of double victory almost never happens. In 1957, his show drew 54 viewers, 2 million viewers, or about a third of the country. By 1958, the competition had gotten tougher. Jackie Gleason was a big name in TV, and their shows often went head-to-head in the ratings. But Ko still won. He won again in 1959, making it 5 years in a row. No male performer had ever done that before, and the record stood for more than 30 years. 1956 was a big year for Ko, not just because he won awards. That February he became the first person to win 5 Emmys in a row, popular singer to win the Christopher Award, which is usually given to serious artistic works. The award was for his Christmas Eve special, in which he sang a Maria in a way that moved millions of people. A few months later, he shared a Peabody Award with Jackie Gleason, which was unusual because Peabody Awards aren't usually shared, and especially not by 2 entertainers who were competing with each other. The committee saw something special in them both, and they held their shows to the highest standards. After their shows, they stayed friends and often called each other to laugh about the ratings battle. By 1990, Ko had been semi-retired for almost 30 years, but his influence on TV had not faded. That year, he was inducted into the Television Hall of Fame, joining legends like Walt Disney and Lucille Ball. Every member of the voting committee approved his induction, which had never happened before. At the ceremony, surrounded by industry greats, Ko kept his acceptance speech short, only 90 seconds. He never made a big deal about himself, but the Hall of Fame committee praised him for changing the format of variety shows and bringing a sense of ease and warmth to television. They also said that he had helped change the industry itself. Ko was one of the first performers to pre-record his shows, which later became standard. One of the highest honors of his career came in 1987, when he was 75 years old and received the Kennedy Center honor, joining the ranks of Bette Davis and other famous people. President Ronald Reagan and First Lady Nancy Reagan attended Alvanay's tribute. Unlike other tributes, producers recreated his famous Sing to Me Mr. Cubble segment and read letters from fans spanning 5 decades of memories. The moment was overwhelming for him. But the biggest surprise of the night came when Frank Sinatra took the stage. For years, people had seen them as rivals and always compared their styles, but that night, Sinatra admitted something. Few people saw this coming, but he had always been envious of Ko's easy charm. The tribute ended with a standing ovation. Perry Como never tried to be famous. People liked him because he made everything look easy, even when it wasn't. His awards were impressive, but they only proved what his fans already knew: he was unique.